His coffee cup shook in his hand as the hotel manager's voice cut through the lobby. "We don't serve people like you here." Dozens of polished shoes clicked across the marble floor, but not a single head turned to help. Daniel's chest tightened, humiliation burning hotter than the chandelier lights above. And then, just 3 seats away, an Arab man in a tailored suit slowly set down his glass of champagne. Daniel had saved for 3 years to afford one night at the Grand Meridian Hotel in Manhattan. His daughter's graduation was tomorrow morning at Columbia University, and he wanted to surprise her by staying somewhere she'd be proud of. He'd ironed his best shirt twice that morning, polished his worn shoes until they almost looked new. When he walked through those golden revolving doors, he felt like he'd finally made it. But the receptionist's smile died the moment she saw his face, replaced by something cold and calculating. "I have a reservation," Daniel said quietly, sliding his confirmation email across the marble counter. The woman barely glanced at it before shaking her head. "There must be some mistake. We're fully booked tonight." Daniel's heart sank. He pulled up his phone, showing her the booking number, the payment confirmation, everything. She didn't even look. Instead, she raised her hand and snapped her fingers toward the back office. That's when the manager appeared. Richard Blackwood was everything Daniel expected from a man running a 5-star hotel. Pressed suit, silver hair, and eyes like ice chips. He looked at Daniel the way you'd look at trash on the sidewalk. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We have standards here." The words hung in the air like poison. Daniel felt every eye in that lobby turned toward him, though most pretended not to notice. His hands trembled as he tried one more time. "I paid $400. I just want the room I reserved." The manager's lip curled. "We don't serve people like you here. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the motel down by the bus station." The words sliced deeper than any knife. Daniel had heard variations of this his whole life. Growing up in Alabama, applying for jobs in Chicago, even buying groceries in his own neighborhood. But somehow, standing in his glittering lobby with his daughter's graduation gift clutched in his briefcase, it hurt worse than ever. He turned to leave, shoulders sagging, dignity shredded. That's when he heard the champagne glass hit the marble table with a deliberate clink. The Arab man in the tailored suit stood slowly, his movements precise and purposeful. He was younger than Daniel had initially thought, maybe 40, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to calculate everything in an instant. He walked toward the reception desk with the confidence of someone who owned the very ground beneath his feet. Nobody in that lobby was pretending not to watch anymore. "Excuse me," the man said, his accent thick, but his English perfect. "I couldn't help but overhear. This gentleman has a confirmed reservation, yes?" The manager's face shifted, not quite nervous, but cautious. "Sir, this doesn't concern you. We're handling a private matter." The Arab man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen twice, and turned it toward the manager. "I am Khalid al-Rashid. I believe you know who I own." The color drained from Richard Blackwood's face like someone had pulled a plug. His mouth opened and closed twice before any sound came out. "Mr. al-Rashid, I didn't realize you were here today. If I'd known." Khalid raised one hand, silencing him instantly. "You didn't know I was here, so you felt comfortable humiliating this man. Tell me, Richard, what exactly did you mean by people like him?" The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. The manager stammered, his confidence evaporating with each passing second. Daniel stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. This stranger, this man he'd never met, was defending him against a manager of a luxury hotel. Khalid turned toward Daniel, his expression softening. "Please, sir, forgive this disgraceful treatment. You are a guest here, and you will be treated as such." Then he looked back at Richard, and his voice dropped to something dangerous. "Give this gentleman the presidential suite. Charge it to my personal account, and then clear your desk." The lobby erupted in whispers. The receptionist looked like she might faint. Richard Blackwood's hands shook as he fumbled with the computer keyboard. "Mr. Al-Rashid, please, I have a family." "I didn't mean." Khalid's eyes were stone. "You meant exactly what you said. And now you'll learn that racism has consequences." He gestured toward Daniel. "This man saved for 3 years to stay here for his daughter's graduation. 3 years. How long did it take you to destroy his dignity? 30 seconds? Daniel finally found his voice. "Sir, you don't have to do this. I can find another hotel." Khalid turned to him, and for the first time, Daniel saw genuine warmth in the stranger's eyes. "My friend, I am doing this because it must be done. I came to America 20 years ago with nothing but a degree and a dream. I know what it feels like to be judged by your appearance, your accent, your name." He placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Nobody should suffer that. Not here. Not anywhere." The manager handed over a key card with shaking fingers. "The presidential suite, sir. 19th floor. All amenities included." Daniel took it, still stunned, while Khalid nodded curtly. "Now pack your things, Richard. Security will escort you out in 10 minutes. And don't think about returning to this industry. I own or have partnerships with 17 hotel chains across this country. Your career's over." The words weren't spoken with anger, just cold, absolute certainty. Richard Blackwood stumbled backward, his face ashen, before turning and practically running toward his office. Khalid guided Daniel toward the elevators, away from the staring crowd. In the privacy of the mirrored elevator car, Daniel finally broke. "Why?" His voice cracked. "Why would you do this for a complete stranger?" Khalid pressed a button for the 19th floor and smiled sadly. 5 years ago, I was denied service at a restaurant in Dallas because the owner thought I might be a terrorist. I was wearing a traditional thobe, and he assumed the worst. I was humiliated, angry, broken. The elevator climbed silently as Khalid continued. That night, an elderly black woman saw me sitting outside on a bench. She didn't know who I was or what I owned. She just sat beside me and said, "Baby, don't let hate make you hateful." Then she bought me dinner at a diner across the street. His eyes glistened with memory. She taught me that the only way to fight darkness is to become light for someone else. So today, I become light for you. The elevator doors opened to reveal a hallway that looked like something from a movie. Daniel followed Khalid to the presidential suite, and when the door swung open, he nearly gasped. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, and fresh flowers filled every corner. Khalid handed him the key card. "Your daughter will be so proud. Not of this room. Of you, for staying dignified when others tried to strip it away." Daniel's eyes burned with tears he'd been holding back for 30 minutes. "I don't know how to thank you," Daniel whispered. Khalid shook his head. "Thank me by passing it forward. The next time you see someone being treated unjustly, speak up. Use whatever power you have, money, voice, presence, to make it right. That's how we change the world." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "What's your daughter's name?" Daniel wiped his eyes. "Maya. She's studying medicine. First person in our family to go to university." Khalid's smile was genuine now, warm and proud. "Then Maya is luckier than she knows." After Khalid left, Daniel stood in that enormous suite and let himself cry. Not tears of humiliation this time, but something deeper, grief for all the times nobody had stood up, relief that someone finally had, and hope that maybe the world was changing. He called his daughter, told her he'd be there tomorrow, but didn't mention the suite or what had happened. Some stories needed to be told face to face. He fell asleep that night in sheets softer than clouds, dreaming of a better tomorrow. The next morning, Daniel found an envelope slipped under his door. Inside was a handwritten note on expensive stationery. Daniel, I took the liberty of researching your background. I learned you're a mechanic who put 3 children through college while supporting your elderly mother. That takes more strength than I could ever possess. Enclosed is a scholarship fund I've established in Maya's name for other first-generation medical students. Your legacy will help hundreds. With respect, Khalid. Attached was a check that made Daniel's hand shake all over again, but this time with joy. At the graduation ceremony, Daniel sat in the front row wearing a new suit Khalid had somehow arranged to be delivered to his room. When Maya's name was called and she crossed that stage, diploma in hand and smile brilliant enough to light the world, Daniel thought about the hotel lobby. He thought about Richard Blackwood's cruel words, about Khalid's intervention, about the elderly woman who'd once shown kindness to a stranger. And he understood, finally, that change wasn't some distant dream. It happened one choice at a time, one person defending another. 3 months later, Daniel received an invitation to the grand reopening of the Grand Meridian Hotel under new management. The hotel had been purchased by Al Rashid International Holdings, and Khalid had personally hired a diverse staff trained specifically in cultural sensitivity and respect. The new manager was a black woman from Brooklyn who'd worked her way up from housekeeping. Daniel attended with Maya by his side, both of them dressed in their finest. When Khalid saw them, he crossed the lobby and embraced Daniel like an old friend. "You changed my life," Daniel said quietly. Khalid shook his head. "No, my friend, we changed each other's. That's how it works." He turned to Maya. "Your father is a hero. He faced hatred with dignity, and that's the hardest kind of courage." Maya squeezed her father's hand, tears streaming down her face. Around them, the lobby bustled with guests of every color, every background, every story. The chandelier still glittered overhead, but now its light fell on everyone equally. As they sipped champagne and watched the celebration, Daniel thought about that moment when his coffee cup had shaken in his hand. He thought about how close he'd come to walking away in silence, accepting humiliation as the price of existing. And he thought about the man who'd set down his glass and decided that enough was enough. Sometimes, Daniel realized, justice doesn't arrive with trumpets and fanfare. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in a tailored suit, speaking with an accent, reminding us that our common humanity is stronger than the walls we build. Sometimes it arrives exactly when you've lost all hope, 3 seats away, waiting to stand up. Friends, if you believe a person's worth is defined by their heart and actions, not their skin color, then share this video and comment, "Respect for all." Together, we can spread this message.